Thank you so much for being here today. As your Dean of Students, it's truly a privilege to spend time with you as we welcome a new group of Tigers to our Mizzou community. Today's focus is on something deeply important, supporting your Tigers' mental health and well-being as they step into college life. This transition is so exciting, but we know it can come with challenges, especially for students managing ADHD, anxiety, or other existing needs. Our goal today is to equip both Tigers and their families with practical tools, guidance, and reassurance for the journey ahead. Here's what we'll cover during today's session. First, we'll look at mental health and ADHD landscape on campus, what students may encounter, and how we as a university respond. Next, we'll discuss how your Tiger can take charge of their own care, whether that's scheduling counseling appointments, learning to manage their health information, or making the most of the many resources Mizzou provides. Then, we'll explore some of the key differences in daily life between high school and college and how that shift in routines can affect students both academically and emotionally. We'll also cover how to set realistic expectations and why having backup plans in place can help your student feel more grounded and confident. And finally, we'll share next steps, what you and your Tiger can do after this session to feel more prepared and connected as the fall approaches.
Hi, I'm Dr. Christine Even. I'm a licensed psychologist and the director at the MU Counseling Center. I'm here today to talk to you about mental health resources, establishing care, and social transitions as you come to Mizzou. So let's take a moment to talk about what's different. For many Tigers, Mizzou is their first introduction to adulthood. This means getting to pick their schedules, events right outside their door, picking their own meals and dining routines, and a lot of other new fun things. It also means that there isn't a bus at the end of the driveway to take them to class, nor is there a regimented schedule from the beginning of their day to the end. In short, high school support systems that students and their families were used to will shift to new ones once they're at Mizzou. College students are more likely to experience new or increased mental health challenges, and they may not recognize that they need help. Good thing is that Mizzou is ready to support them. For students that are already living with a mental health disorder, your condition is still going to exist when you come to Mizzou and need cared for, even while you grow and change. Let's talk a little bit about the social impacts and that may have an impact on students' mental health as they come to school. There's a lot of new things that students are going to be facing when they come to Mizzou. For instance, social pressure. First-year students are often away from home for the very first time. They may feel isolated and lonely until they build a new support system. They're learning how to navigate new social circles and trying to establish and maintain positive relationships. Academically, things may look very different for them than it did in high school, and there's often pressure to succeed and to prove that they're capable of doing well at the university. Often we see things like anxiety and fear of failure come up for the first time. Additionally, classes may be tweaked to how students are used to studying in high school, and they may have to learn new skills, particularly if they have disorders like attention deficit disorder or social anxiety. They may need to find new skills to help them cope and perform well academically. There's also less structured time in their day. So this is a big change from having only being in classes, for 8 hours a day down to potentially just a couple hours a day, each day looking drastically different. There's a lot more self-directed study time that's going to be needed as well. In terms of life's changes, students may experience new responsibilities like working, being in relationships, living with roommates for the first time, most likely, being responsible for their meal schedule. We're also seeing a lot of students that are struggling with global concerns. So students may be concerned about climate change, politics, gun violence, or other societal issues. These are big topics on college campuses and something that students may be dealing with for the first time. Financial issues also have a negative impact on students' mental health. Even for students benefiting from financial aid, grants, scholarships, and loans, financial pressure can adversely affect their mental health and well-being, and it can trigger chronic stress and anxiety. But being a good steward of their mental health means that they recognize these concerns and they seek the resources that we have available when needed. So let's talk about establishing care at Mizzou. Plan ahead, identify any medical and mental health care options before arriving at Mizzou. Continuity of care matters. So for those students that have had longer term needs, it's important that you get connected to those resources as quickly as possible here in Columbia, whether it be at the university or in the local Columbia community. Many providers from home, particularly if your providers are out of state, aren't able to manage services from afar. Some are able to if they're licensed in the state of Missouri, but many will not do that. So it's important to get established just as students are looking for who's going to cut their hair while they're here or their favorite restaurant. They also need to be establishing medical care services. Often for many students, this may be the first time they're doing this on their own. It's important to avoid delays and work in using summer really to find those options now. There's often long waits for new providers, whether it's in the community or some even services on campus. And so we want to make sure students get connected as soon as possible. So use the summer before freshman year to transfer your records if needed and secure care. So where to start? Medical care we have available here on campus through the Student Health Center. It is a wonderful service that is covered by supported by student fees, and so it's right here on campus, and students don't have to go far to find it. Students are able to transfer their records of care if they're dealing with a chronic health condition here to the Student Health Center so that they can be supported here on campus. We also have the MU Healthcare Network. So if students are needing more specialized care, the Student Health Center can help connect them to specialists here in the community. Services do have a cost to them at the Student Health Center, and they do accept insurance. Though we are not part of MU Healthcare, the Student Health Center does partner with them closely and takes all the insurance that MU Healthcare takes as well. If a student isn't sure what their health insurance covers, they can call the Student Health Center and talk with one of the insurance specialists to learn about what costs will be for them at the Student Health Center and what options are available for them. If students are dealing with a longer term issue and are needing to have medication managed through our primary care providers or through the psychiatrist at the Student Health Center, they can call prior to the start of the semester and ask to meet with our medical director to get those services started and to get records transferred, because the last thing we want is a student to be in immediate need of services and not have their information here. It's also important to think about transferring your prescriptions ahead of time. You can contact your home pharmacy to discuss how to transfer your prescriptions when you move to Columbia. It's important to find a pharmacy that's close to campus and in network with your insurance. So MU Healthcare does have a pharmacy here on the edge of campus. That's a great option for many of our students that are living on campus. We also have a Walgreens on the corner of Broadway and Providence that is also within walking distance, depending upon what insurance your student may have. So let's take a moment to talk about mental health care providers. The first step is starting your search. Often this can be calling the MU Counseling Center to determine if brief or long-term support is needed. The MU Counseling Center only provides brief therapy, which we'll talk more about here in a moment. So if students are aware that they're needing longer-term support or have been in therapy for quite a while now and are wanting to continue that support while they're here at Mizzou, they may benefit from being connected with a provider in our community who can provide that longer term support. And the Counseling Center is happy to meet with students to discuss what insurance you have and help connect you to appropriate providers in the community. You can do this by calling the MU Counseling Center Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and asking to speak to our referral coordinator, or you can call and speak with one of our on-call clinicians to determine what services are best for you. If you're interested in brief therapy at the MU Counseling Center, you can call again during our working hours after the start of the fall semester to schedule a brief screening appointment with one of our rapid access clinicians. IOP and inpatient services are limited in the Columbia community, so please be aware that if you have a higher level need for services, we may need to refer you to the Kansas City or St. Louis area. Often that can be difficult being a student, but we want students to be aware that we do have limited options here in the community outside of long-term individual therapy. Social anxiety is one of the top presenting concerns we see in students here on campus and at the MU Counseling Center, particularly after COVID. Maintaining old support systems while coming to college and building new ones can be quite tricky. But there's also, again, a lot of resources here on campus. We do have several resources that are specific to individuals that are struggling with navigating new relationships and leaving behind old ones, such as our New to Mizzou workshops and clinical skills classes, as well as a social confidence group therapy option that will support students in building new social skills. We know that it's important to connect with others, but we also know it takes time. So further on building connection, we know that students that feel engaged on campus and feel supported and have a good social support system are likely to have a better sense of well-being and improved mental health. So it's important to get connected while you're here on campus. Make connections at your own pace. Know that each student is going to have a different experience, and you're going to make friends and groups of individuals at a different pace, and that's absolutely okay. You can use campus tools like MU Engage to find groups that match your interests. This is often a great way to get to meet people who have similar interests to you. Also, be open about your mental health if you're comfortable. It's a great way to find others who will understand and support you. Also know that self-advocacy matters. Talk to your professors, your RAs, your advisors, and your peers about your needs. We see it as asking for support as a strength and not a weakness. And oftentimes students will find that you're not alone and that many other students and staff and faculty feel the same way. And if you are struggling, the students and the support system that you build here on campus can help you connect to local campuses or local campus resources as well as community resources. Let's talk a little bit about the campus mental health services available on campus. Student Health and Wellbeing recently created a mental health resource hub, and this is a central guide to all campus resources. It includes counseling center services, student health center services, peer support, wellness, and more. You can find this website by going to wellbeing.missouri.edu and locate the hub there. We also have a variety of services available at the MU Counseling Center. We work within a personalized care model and a brief therapy approach. So what this means is services are going to be tailored to each unique student that walks through the door, and we're going to determine what is the best fit for that student within a brief therapy model. This can include things like workshops, our free app for students called TAO, our group therapy and clinical skills class. This past year, we offered over 50 group therapy and clinical skills class options. So a great way to get a variety of services. We also offer a 24/7 crisis line by calling the main counseling center number. This is available for students 24 hours a day. And we also offer brief individual therapy and referrals for long-term care. If a student is needing help getting connected to medication, we can work with our partners over at the Student Health Center to get them set up for an appointment for psychiatry and primary care. Our Student Health Center sees a wide variety of students over the year, with mental health concerns being one of their top presenting concerns. They do a lot of psychotropic medication management and are really skilled in doing that. And so we will work very closely back and forth. So whether a student comes through our door first or the Student Health Center's door, we are going to work to get them connected to all the services that they need. Again, crisis support is available. We know that many students are going to be away from home for the first time and may experience their first crisis without having their family or local support system around to assist them. They can call the MUCC crisis line 24 hours a day at 573-882-6601. If it is between and during office hours, they can ask to speak to an on-call counselor. If it is after hours, they can follow the voice prompts to be put through to a clinician. The service is also available for family and friends. If you are concerned about an MU student, you can call during the same hours and ask to speak to an on-call clinician to consult about how to best support your MU Tiger. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is also an option, and we have the Missouri Psychiatric Center, which is part of MU Healthcare, right on the edge of campus. So community mental health resources. So again, I mentioned earlier that we don't have extensive services for IOP and specialized care in our community, but we do have a large array of individual therapy providers in the community that are ideal for certain specialized or more longer term therapy needs. The MU Counseling Center has a referral coordinator who can help match you with providers. Again, you can call starting this summer and ask to speak to our referral coordinator before the start of the semester. And she can work with you to identify your transportation needs, what health insurance you have, what are your presenting concerns, and help match you with somebody who's going to be a good fit for you in our community. We maintain a long referral list, so we're aware of who is going to be a good fit for you. There are also a variety of statewide telehealth options. So if you are coming from somewhere within the state of Missouri and you had a mental health provider you've been working with long term and you have had a good working relationship with them, you may be able to continue with them. You just need to talk with them and see if they provide services via telehealth. And MU Housing offers study rooms for private sessions. So if that is an option you're going to pursue, please look into your res hall when you get here to find available spaces. But I'd also say don't be afraid to share with your roommate, if you have a roommate, that you have a therapy session or a medical appointment and ask for that privacy as needed. Again, seeking support and talking openly can be helpful and seen as a sign of strength. So while you wait, just remember that community wait times can be long. So in order to get your first appointment, if you're seeking longer term services or more specialized care in the community, it's good to get started now and get those services lined up before you get to Mizzou. If you are coming to Mizzou and at any point you feel like you would be a good fit for brief therapy, don't hesitate to call the counseling center. We can get students in for that first appointment within 24 to 72 hours to get them started in services. In the meantime, and once students have access to their MU email address, they can use TAO for self-help. It's a free evidence-based mental health tool that all students, faculty, and staff have free access to as long as they use their MU email address. It's great while you're waiting and is supplemental support, and it's available 24 hours a day. So whether you're having a panic attack at 2 a.m. because you're studying for your first midterm, it's got skills and help right there in your pocket. Again, if you have immediate needs, don't hesitate to call the counseling center 24 hours a day to reach our on-call clinician.
Hello, my name is Avery. I work at the Student Health Center as a supervisor of outpatient services. And today we're going to be talking about managing health information and ADHD at Mizzou. Understanding students' rights under HIPAA and FERPA. Mental health records are protected under HIPAA. Once a student is 18 years of age, medical and mental health records cannot be shared with parents, including whether or not the student is receiving care without a signed release of information from the MU Counseling Center and or the Student Health Center. Parents can always call and share information with staff at either center if they are concerned about their student and think that that information will be helpful for providers, though providers will not confirm if the student is being seen without a release of information. How to grant family access to your medical information if desired. If students are interested in sharing their medical information with a parent or guardian once they are 18 years, they will need to sign a release of information. They can dictate specifically what information is shared or not and for how long. For example, they can mark that only attendance information can be shared, including whether they are being seen and the dates of the appointments, or share the entire medical record. If a student is being seen at MU Healthcare or the Student Health Center, they have to sign a release of information for each medical appointment to share what was discussed in the appointment. Managing appointments and mental health services as an independent adult. So some practical tips for organizing care independently. So set reminders, use health apps, and or set alarms on your phone. It is important to attend all appointments and be on time, as being late will result in the need to reschedule your appointment. Additional practical tips for maintaining privacy while managing your mental health in college. Identifying a private space to conduct telehealth appointments for those who need help remotely. Establish private spaces and boundaries for personal health. Who can I trust? Knowing when it's okay to share private information in order to get help. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, so ADHD/ADD, is commonly treated with medications regulated by the government. Current providers may not be able to continue to prescribe medication. To ensure the safe and legal use of these medications, the Student Health Center has established policies to guide their prescribing. So, patients with prior diagnosis of ADHD must provide a copy of all relevant records, including ADHD testing, assessments, and evaluations, documentation of prescribed medications, including dosing. If you have received treatment for any other mental health concern currently or in the past, documentation of that treatment is needed. If you do not have copies of these records, complete a record release form. Submit the form to your previous physician or counselor who will send your records to the Student Health Center. You could send your current medical records to the medical director at MU Student Health Center. Our address is 909 High Street, Columbia, Missouri 65201. Or you could email us at umhsshc@health.missouri.edu. It is important for your records to arrive before your initial visit with your student health center physician, preferably 1 week ahead. If your previous ADHD/ADD diagnosis cannot be confirmed from a review of your prior records and initial evaluation by the student health center physician, you may be asked to have a further evaluation outside the student health center before medication is prescribed. A previous ADHD/ADD diagnosis does not guarantee you will receive a prescription. The student health center physician will make the final decision regarding treatment, medications, and dosing. Patients without prior diagnosis of ADHD. So, if you're concerned that you may have ADHD/ADD but have not been tested, you must undergo an appropriate assessment that includes a comprehensive clinical interview and testing with these components. So, estimates of cognitive ability, memory functioning, memory functioning, academic achievement, ADHD rating scales, or behavior checklists that include multiple reporters, measures of attention, assessments measuring other co-occurring problems like anxiety or mood disorders, and online testing options without these components described above will not be accepted. Check with your insurance carrier to see if the ADHD testing is a covered benefit. And submit assessment records as above. So, stimulant medication. So, physicians may ask students receiving a stimulant medication prescription to sign a contract that specifies the responsibilities the student and the student health center physician share. Physicians may ask students taking stimulant medication to submit random urine drug tests. The MU Counseling Center does not offer testing for ADHD, though the referral coordinator can assist you in finding local testing options. There tends to be a 6-month to 1 year wait for testing appointments. The MU Counseling Center offers a 6-week clinical skills class called Alleviating Daily Distractions, ADD, for students either with or without a diagnosis of ADHD/ADD that could benefit from learning skills to manage their symptoms in college. Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, ADHD/ADD, is commonly treated with medications regulated by the government. Current providers may not be able to continue to prescribe medication. To ensure the safe and legal use of these medications, the Student Health Center has established policies to guide their prescribing.
Hi, my name is Ashley Brickley, and I'm the director of Mizzou's Disability Center. I want to share with you a little bit of information about our office and the accommodation process should your tiger need accommodations. If your tiger has had accommodations in the past, it's important to know that it's going to look a little bit different from what they experienced in high school. When we look at accommodations in college setting, what we're looking at is equal access, looking at ways that we can provide accommodations to reduce or eliminate unnecessary barriers that prevent your tiger from demonstrating their knowledge. Accommodations aren't about guaranteeing success, but we're hoping that through the process of providing accommodations, your tiger will be successful here at Mizzou. It's also important to understand that if they had an IEP or a 504 plan, it does not automatically transfer. We won't know that your tiger had accommodations in K through 12 until they tell us. Additionally, some of those accommodations or services that they received in that K through 12 setting as a part of that IEP or 504 plan may not be reasonable or something that is appropriate here in the college setting. Don't worry, our staff will help your tiger navigate those differences and talk about what they may be eligible for here at Mizzou. To begin, your Tiger will need to complete an online application and submit appropriate documentation in regards to their diagnosis. And then they'll meet with an access advisor to create a personalized accommodation plan specific and unique to their own needs. As I mentioned earlier, those accommodations are going to be case by case, depending on exactly what your student needs to have that equal access. But some common accommodations that students might receive here at Mizzou include extended test time, reduced distraction testing rooms, and the ability to audio record lectures for note-taking assistance. As with everything, this is again a student-driven process, and the student is going to be responsible for requesting their accommodation letters and following those required steps to implement their accommodations every semester. Of course, if they ever have any questions or any concerns, our staff are able to meet with them to talk about their rights and their responsibilities further.
So college is a big shift from high school. Less structure, more independence, and a lot more personal responsibility. For some students, that change can feel overwhelming. So they may need to build new habits, setting alarms, managing deadlines, getting enough sleep, and asking for help when needed. That's where your support, encouragement, and patience really come in. Let's start with one of the biggest challenges for college students, the college schedule. Unlike high school, college routines are much more flexible and they are sometimes unpredictable. Students may have classes only a few days a week or on different times every day. And with this added freedom comes a need for time management and personal responsibility. Encourage your tiger to embrace the change, be flexible with their routine, and start developing habits that help them stay on top of their commitments. Our goal is to help your tiger build confidence and smart habits and help you feel ready to support them from the sidelines. Okay, it's time to tackle time management. It's not always easy, but it's 100% doable. Step one. Your tiger should try using a planner or digital calendar. Outlook is a campus favorite and it is an awesome way to keep everything organized. We also recommend time blocking. That's setting aside space in the day for things like studying, meals, sleep, and just breathing room. Covering all the well-being bases helps your students stay focused and feeling well. It's all about balance. Schoolwork, self-care, and having fun all are important. So we encourage students to think of each one as a piece of the big picture. Remind your student to listen to their energy levels. If they're feeling drained, it might be time for a break or a shift in their routine. They are learning what works for them, and that's a win. And for extra support, we offer academic coaching to help with planning and study habits, and MU Engage to connect them with the awesome student groups and events that your student can get connected with. Let's move into something more important, and that is building healthy habits. As our tigers settle into college life, it is really easy for routines to shift. Late nights, grab and go meals, or skipping workouts. But here's the thing. Mental health and physical health are tightly connected, and when one's off balance, the other feels it too. Sleep is often the very first thing that changes. With roommates, late night studying, or just excitement of a new environment, sleep schedules can get pretty off track. We encourage students to create a calming bedtime routine, even in a busy dorm. A regular sleep schedule, shooting for 7 to 9 hours of sleep, can make a big difference in mood and in your tiger's focus. Exercise is a powerful tool. We know that it can be hard to squeeze in, but movement helps manage stress and it boosts energy. Whether it's walking across our beautiful campus, joining intramurals, or checking out the Mizzou Rec Center, there are options for every style. And of course, nutrition matters too. Balanced meals and regular eating help fuel the brain and the body. Now, it's not about being perfect, it's about being intentional. Planning meals and snacks can go a long way. Now it's time to turn to a key part of college life, the reason they're here, academic success. One of the biggest shifts for new students is learning how to study on their own. College courses often don't come with daily homework checks or constant reminders, and that can feel overwhelming at first, but it's totally normal. We encourage students to create a study schedule that works for them, and that may mean blocking out time each week to do reading or homework or trying to get ahead of that really big project. It also means learning how to break large assignments into smaller, doable steps. And this kind of planning helps reduce stress and boost confidence. And your student doesn't have to do it alone. Mizzou has amazing resources. Their Learning Center offers free academic coaching, tutoring, and even group study opportunities. It is a great starting point for any Tiger who wants to build solid study habits. Please encourage your student to explore those resources early. It's not just about keeping up, it's about setting themselves up to thrive. And just like with sleep or nutrition, getting help with academics is a smart and a proactive move. Let's talk about something we all want for our students, a sense of connection. One of our biggest parts of college is meeting new people and building relationships that can last a lifetime. But we also know that that can be a lot. A brand new place, new faces, and a lot of change coming all at once. Encourage your Tiger to take things one step at a time. We tell students just get out there, but give yourself some grace. Joining clubs, attending welcome week events, or just saying hello to the person next to you can open doors. And if they're not sure where to begin, our involvement ambassadors can help them find their right fit. Homesickness will be totally normal, but missing home doesn't mean that there's something wrong. It just means that your students have strong roots. Staying in touch with family is important, but we also encourage students to stay on campus during those first few weeks of the semester, because that's when friendships start forming and routines begin to settle. Now, many students may feel like they're the only ones struggling, but they're not. We remind them, don't expect perfection, expect growth. Everybody adjusts at their own pace. And when in doubt, ask for help. There's no shortage of people here, from faculty, staff, and students who care deeply and are ready to support your Tiger. As students learn to balance freedom and responsibility, they will discover that structure and flexibility can go hand in hand. We recommend that they set clear academic goals, prioritize mental health, and find friend groups who share their same values. And here's a bonus tip. Encourage your Tiger to get to know at least one professor. It makes a big difference inside and outside of the classroom. Now, this part of our presentation talks about understanding limits. Our counseling center plays a big role in student well-being, but we want to be honest about its capacity. Because of high demand, students may need to wait for ongoing therapy appointments. However, we can usually get a brief screening within 72 hours, and this helps identify your students' needs and connect them to both on-campus and possibly off-campus resources. Mizzou's Counseling Center can't provide long-term therapy. We just have too many students. But we will help students find providers in the community or set up telehealth services. It's smart to have a backup plan, especially if your student is already in care. Continuing with their provider at home may be a great option if it fits with your student and your family's schedule. As we wrap up, let's walk through some important steps to help your Tiger get off to a strong and healthy start. Before arriving, it's a great idea to gather important medical records and prescriptions. This will help with a smooth transition if your student needs to continue care in Columbia. Research local providers and local pharmacies, and if needed, go ahead and schedule early appointments before the semester begins. Don't forget, Mizzou has its own pharmacy in the MU hospital. Keep in mind, on-campus medical and mental health services can't be booked until the fall semester starts, so having a plan in place beforehand is key. There are also some helpful tools and tasks your student can take care of ahead of time. For example, you could start using apps to manage medications, time, and you can use apps to manage mental health support. At Mizzou, we use TAO, Therapy Assistance Online. Be sure your Tiger also sets up an emergency contact in their student records. This helps us help them in the case of a rare crisis. Consider whether FERPA or a release of information form should be completed so that you can stay in the loop in their care if that's something that you and your student agree upon. And finally, talk with your student about creating or updating a personal safety plan. It can bring a lot of peace of mind to everyone. We also want to highlight the Sober in College program. It's a peer support group for students choosing sober living. It is very welcoming and non-judgmental for connection and community. Families can also have open conversations with their students about how substances can interact with mental health and medications, and that awareness can be very, very helpful. Taking these steps early makes a huge difference. It's all about empowering your tiger to take care for themselves and starting college with confidence, support, and a plan.